Y'all want to know something? I have never been this angry at a story in a while. There was a time in which I had to stop watching news because there were times, like listening to the news, in which I would just, my hands would start shaking with just fervent anger at stuff going on in the world. And I had to basically pause looking at news entirely. And for like half a year, I basically stopped looking at news. I basically like became a recluse. There is a story that has been going around lately, which is the story of a man named Reckless Ben. Reckless Ben is this guy who is trying to recover the money stolen from a man who, because of a medical condition, he is basically like infirmed? I don't think that's the right word. Who is currently like in severe medical treatment. And his son basically decided that he was going to sell one of the world's largest collections of Legos for his dad to like help pay for medical stuff and all that kind of stuff. And the second that it went into the store, because of a legal loophole, the company behind everything was able to secure all those assets. Now, that is only half of the story. The half of the story was going to the store, trying to serve them papers, going like, "Hey, you need to actually give them their money that is owed because in the contract it says that it belongs to this family." The problem is that you have a situation in which the law is being used against good people. I need to kind of talk about one particular thing that I don't usually talk about a lot, and that is my need to describe things on a political compass comes from. And that comes from my background of being a D&D player. So I would get into conversations a lot about alignment when it comes to like chaos versus law and good versus evil. And I got into a big discussion about what it means to be evil. I've always like put down that when it comes to the political compass, it's a lot different than, just like the alignment when it comes to D&D, because in D&D they have the same two axes, but the way that they do stuff is that if you are with the law or you are against the law, isn't actually the same thing as being lawful or chaotic. Lawful basically means that you will follow rules, not just yours, but other people's. You will be within the bounds that is necessary to keep something going, which is not really the same thing as anything that's on this political compass right here. And the other vector is good versus evil, which I have gotten into many arguments about, that good versus evil is actually selflessness versus selfishness. And oddly enough, these vectors actually go the exact same direction in different ways on this one. So, as I've basically described, moral nihilism is this sort of state where everything is uh not codified. What is the word? Everything is, rationalized as just like complete numbers games where it's like you can boil things down to just like straight ones and zeros and look at the world through a very inhuman lens. Meanwhile, you could get so high up into moral realism that you start like extrapolating yourself mentally, where you're just like, but how does the entire world feel about this? And in a way, like this sort of dynamic is what the good versus evil is uh when it comes to like the D&D system. And then you have, authority versus um authoritarianism, libertarianism, whatever. It's technically different, but my love for explaining things like this is that you have these concrete lines like drawn in the sand. By the way, I put the brackets around the different rows to kind of showcase what I mean when I talk about things, because there were a few comments that were like, I don't understand what you mean by this. And it's like, yeah, so I basically describe this a little bit better using this system. But one of the things I wanted to talk about is something that the libertarian left gets correct that a lot of times is kind of glossed over. Any sort of system that upholds the law as a vector to cause damage to people who are keeping to the law. So oftentimes people will use the law for evil intentions. The lawful evil is, the realm of charlatans and I want to say lawyers, but like you know what I mean, where it's like it's the realm of people who are going to use the law in selfish ways to bend the rules and trap people within their own rules. And I've always found the lawful evil to be a lot more story-wise more interesting for a villain than just someone that's chaotic evil that just says, I want to blow up the earth. That's more of a story writing thing. We could get into like story writing stuff another time when I'm not talking about like a man's life being destroyed. 57. Is being routinely accosted by the law. This is Asmongold reacting to the video.
They let people that are fucking like random shoplifters arrested 30 times. They're like, oh, well, Darnell got away again. I guess that's just what happens. And meanwhile, so they're micromanaging this guy. It's actually crazy how much goodwill these guys lose by doing this. It's insane.
Yes, I actually found the exact right spot I was trying to look for. I can't believe it. But yeah, this entire story is after they have won in court due to default because the business that they were suing shuttered to avoid paying the family. Right now the GoFundMe is sitting at like a very higher number than they ever would have gotten for Lego figures, so they're going to be able to help the dad through his like medical stuff. And that is very heartwarming to know that people have gone out of their way to be like, no, I don't want this injustice to stand. The problem is everything else attached to this. So I want you to think about this sort of situation. A man is trying to go through the legal system. The legal system says, the legal system says that, which is what they're currently doing right here, is that this guy is trying to sue the guy who's down the street. And this person right here is a legal processor. He has a court appointed set of papers that is notarized that will be sent to this guy. The thing is that the guy has a restraining order on him, so he cannot enter any of his properties or any of the grounds that is within, within any, anywhere close to him. So he gets a legal processor to be like, okay, here's the paperwork. I'm not affiliated with this guy. We literally just met today. I need to give you these paperwork to make this legal. But the guy is physically forcing the cops that keep coming down to intercept them so that he could like sit in his car like all day. So like he can sit in his car looking like really smug as he does not want to have the paperwork filed. So he keeps calling the police, and then the police decides to raid the place where he is staying. to the point where, like, he gets his arm dislocated, he gets stuff, like, rifled through, and they're trying to find literally any reason to keep him in prison, and the only reason why he's not in prison right now is literally because the judge looked at the paperwork saying, I think the cops overreached here, but that's not what, that's not what this guy wants to hear. This guy wants to hear that this guy will be locked away forever and never has to disrupt his business ever again. But that's the thing, is that, like, when a person commits evil, they must be held accountable. And so this is kind of the start of a set of, and, like, all of that is pretext for what I'm about to talk about here. Literally took me 13 minutes. How lucky. I wanted to start kind of a series leading up to me talking about liberalism and why people kind of have weird views on it in America. And this kind of is the unofficial start of the series called What Exactly is a Liberal? And I think one of the best ways to kind of describe it is, okay, I really am going to need to edit, like, most of this out while I talk about this, but yes. So, one of the things that I kind of wanted to talk about is specifically the thing that Zach says at the end of this video. Because, again, like, I always, like, one of the things I always say to people is, unfortunately for his enemies, Zach is a liberal. And a lot of people can't really take that. And it really does show, because, listen, this is someone who's supposed to be, like, far right, which, no, there are different vectors of far right YouTuber, and when I eventually do make that video on the authoritarian right, I will bring them up, even though I kind of like some of their content, and I watch, like, one or two of them. I'm going to point them out, and I am going to ridicule some of their takes. Well, not ridicule, more of, like, I will fight them on their points just because I am someone who is, I am technically on the other side of politics from them, but it doesn't mean I can't, watch them enjoy their content and all that kind of stuff. But I need to point out this part at the end of the episode of Zach watching part 2 of RecklessBen's Lego story.
And a lot of the cops getting called out for their shit. Afroman is so good. Yeah, well, I mean, like, the thing is that, I mean, it's just so obviously, there's so obviously an abuse being done, right? And I think that's it, right? And Afroman, Ben, Nick Shirley, yeah. And it's crazy to see how these people are willing to weaponize the government and weaponize this to protect such an obvious bad behavior. Like, that's insane. And shouldn't police and judges be charged with the death penalty? I mean, a death penalty probably is maybe a little bit too much, but they should be put in jail for a long time. Yeah, I think that if a police officer is found to be weaponizing the law in, like, a way that's, like, protecting crime in this way, I think that they definitely should be put in jail, yeah, like, for a really long time. Same with judges or any accomplices in it, and they need to figure out, like, why this is happening, because, like, you can't have a police department or, like, a police group that is doing that. I mean, it's just, you can't have that happen. And punishment should be especially harsh for people in the law. Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely do. I wish that there were more people that saw things that way. But right now, like, the problem is, like, a lot of people don't see things that way, and they're completely okay with that happening. They don't care about it or think it's a big deal at all. They just think it's totally normal, which is, like, super fucking frustrating to me. It's extremely frustrating. But, I guess that's the way it is now. And I don't know if it's ever going to change. I would assume it's probably not, right? You believe we should give police more power at the risk of more corruption, or less power at the risk of chaos? I'd rather have police have more power, and there's also more accountability. I think that police need to be empowered to do things. Police need to be empowered to make decisions, and they need to be empowered to arrest people for making bad decisions. But, like, you need to have both. You need to have high levels of accountability and high levels of empowerment. And I think that whenever you only have one or the other, you've got a huge problem. Like if you have no empowerment with no account with, you know, like you have maximum empowerment with low accountability, then you've got a huge problem too.
One of the most fascinating things is that, like, Zach right here is very well known for, like, taking the side of cops. Like, let me just show you this. So right now he has about 33 videos on just apparently 36 because you watched some other stuff, but like uh he has watched a lot of pro cop body cam footage, and him basically sitting here going, "No, the reason why I am willing to take this stance against these bad cops is because justice should be equal." He really is serious when he talks about hey, like when it comes to body cameras, there's a reason why like he will always be pro body cam. Okay, I think I found it. This is from the video, This Is Too Funny to Watch. It's a video about a woman who, at a park, jumps a fence to attack a guy who's wearing a MAGA hat. And, again, which one is the aggressor? Kind of both of them. But the problem is that, like, the guy is willing to cooperate with the police officers because of his political worldview. She is not willing to talk to the police officers because of her worldview. So who gets arrested? Her. Even though he might have actually like agitated it. Like that's the whole thing where it's like, okay, so who is willing to work within the bounds of the law and who is not? The person who is not is the one that gets in trouble first and hardest.
Dude, the thing is that like these police officers, like I really have to say, like all of the, oh wow, like, you know, these guys are so bad and, you know, the police are so mean. Dude, after watching these videos, my mindset is totally different. Like after this, I'm not thinking, bro, am I even against police brutality? I mean, we were gonna say against every single time. Guys, I mean, there's some people, I think they deserve it. Oh my God, they're so obnoxious, aren't they? Defund
Leaking a little bit into more authoritarian vibes, but you know, it was like sometimes it's hard to figure out which one's a joke and which one's him actually being serious sometimes. I would kind of hope that this is him being um more jokey, but how about we like take it with a little bit less charity for right now and just let him continue with the point.
the police. We need to refund the police. Holy shit. What a fucking animal. Oh my God. They had to hog tie this bitch and carry her around. Look at this. This is it's what you do to an animal. Oh my fucking God. So yeah, is this a bit scary how disrespectful some people are against authority? Well, the thing is that, again, it feels like it's becoming a rising problem. How do you fix this? How do you fix this? The way that you fix it is it's very simple. You put these people in a mental institution. This woman belongs in a mental institution. Like you can't have a person like this involved in like a polite society. Right? It's like kind of you're putting like you know, you look like it's like a clean glass of water, right? And you put a person like that in there, it's like putting like a drop of food coloring in. It fucks up everything, right? It changes the color of everything. And so it's like, even though it's only a little bit, it has like this, you know, like effect that it puts out there on everybody.
He isn't too wrong. The idea of like if one person in a group gets away with one thing, it it toes the line. It's like what kind of happened during like what happens during like civil riots where it's like, well, I didn't intend to break this window, but because I saw someone else do it and because I saw someone else like because they saw someone like tap on the glass, so they wanted to tap on a little bit harder. And the reason why they're tapping on the glass is because someone was putting their hands on another part of the glass. The reason why they're putting their hands on the glass is because the people on the other side of the glass wasn't paying attention to another guy. And this is just like a chain of events going down a line, which eventually leads to a window being shattered and people running into somewhere. Like it is chain logic, literally, where one person sees where the line is and then they toe the line a little bit further to see if it's okay. And the problem is that, like, this sort of mentality does cause a lot of problems to spawn.
And so we need to use the diagnosis of hysteria again. Yeah, we're gonna bring that in. A mental hospice, exactly. How do you imagine a gender split would be in the mental institution?
Zach? Come on, Zach.
80-20?
Ugh.
I think about 80-20, something like that. Maybe probably somewhere around there. Yeah, something like that. I mean, I would say, like, yeah, for sure.
Basically, it kind of gets the point across. If Zach, someone who is willing to kind of side with the cops on a lot of stuff, and is even, like, a little bit pushing the line when it comes to, like, his authoritarian, like, mindset. When it comes to, like, no, we need to, like, crack down harder. Like, I don't care if, like, bad things happen to bad people. If it means that the bad people get off the streets, Zach is willing to take a stand on exactly one thing. And that's the very interesting thing. Okay, I found it with a little bit more ease than I thought.
Thank you, George Floyd. Thank you, BLM. Because there are these stupid, fat fuck, piece of shit police officers out there. And now we have the evidence. Now we have it. Now we know. Now there's accountability.
That's the important thing. The word accountability. It is one of the aspects of liberal mindsets that always kind of goes a little bit underrepresented. There is something very interesting to be said about, like, the word accountability is intrinsically tied into liberalism as a whole. And it literally does come from the Christian mindset of repenting for your sins. Like, even Zach, who isn't really too much religious, but he's not. I think he said once that, like, there are several things that that if were to happen, he would instantly go back to church because of it, because he's not too out of the, you know, realm of possibility uh of rekindling his connection with God. But this entire thing, and what I wanted to talk about, is literally the fact that when you have a liberal who is basically asked, would you side with the police who normally would keep the law, or the people who are being trampled under their feet, a liberal 100% of the time will side with the libertarian left thinking and going, man, I don't like these cops, which is why a lot of the Summer of Love riots happened, which is, like, people were completely willing to side with the anti-police people because injustice had occurred. And it's the righteous indignation part of the liberal mindset that has always been so fascinating to watch. Anyway, I need to get to editing this video. I need to get up early in the morning. Anyway, I'll see all of y'all next time. Goodbye, everybody.